Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode of the vlogs. Today we're not, as you can tell, outside of the club. We're not even in Henley, we're not even near Henley, we're in Bath, or outside of Bath, to test out some things. Yesterday was part 1 of talking about weights for rowing. Today part 2, a little bit different, testing more for me, and we'll talk a bit later about exercises that might be good for rowing and maybe, but also remember, it is very individual, so what works for me might not work for you. But we're going into the gym here and we're going to be doing some testing, so let's get to it. So the first thing, we see the gym and then we're going to have a chat with the boss man at this gym right here on the left, and then, or now on the right, and we're just going to talk about me as an athlete, my weaknesses, my strengths, and so and what I want to chat to him about as a strength coach, as someone who knows what they're talking about, and see what he can where he can point me towards. So just looking at things like okay, my max power is there, but not necessarily my power endurance or my strength endurance. So looking at things like that and then asking different questions about where or what I should be doing to improve that. And he's not from a rowing background, so he's taken a sort of interest in thinking, okay, well, maybe I can take my expertise from other sports into the rowing side, but also trying to adapt a little bit for the rowing side. But basically, just as meeting anyone, especially in as a coach, just learning where the athlete is coming from in terms of their fitness or their training history, etc., whether they've had any injuries or whatever, but just getting a little bit of background on me before we look at any of the testing that I mentioned earlier. And after a little bit of a chat about me and as an athlete, we're going to look, what's the scan? What is this?
We're going to do an in-body 770 scan.
One of those.
Which is a particularly advanced level scan. I'll talk you through all the details when we get the results.
And then a bit of posture as well. Oh, yeah. So the posture first, so nice and simple. Just a weighted, or a string with a weight at the bottom to be able to see what both sides of my body are doing, and then you can look, okay, are there weaknesses, are there reasons why there are imbalances maybe, and then different measurements you can do to compare and contrast that. So basically looked at that for a little bit, back, front, side, and then we talked about the thoracic rotation a little bit, and then he showed me this little trick that you can do that we're just going to go over now.
Rotate as far around as you can, keeping your feet still.
Rotate or
as far as you can. As far as you can. And just know where you get to.
Yeah.
Okay. And then now I want you to take the arm out, keep your head still, and just strain your eyes to the right and take it right to the far point of your vision. Strain it and then back to the middle. Strain it. Back to the middle. And again. This time turn your head the opposite way as you go that way. That's it. Really keep looking at that. Keep looking. Back to the middle. Okay, I want to do the first one again and see if you get any further. Just a tad. I hope you captured that. Let's do the
Now it's time to get scanned. So with the body scan here, bare feet and clothes off, just making sure that the contacts are on the electrodes, and then there's electrodes you put in your hands, and it gives you a lot of data on your muscle mass, your body fat percentage, your weight, your water mass, weight, and loads of different things. So I will go over that once we get the scan.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. It should all just print out now.
And I've got the sheet of paper here, and there's so much data as we look at it together. There's so much data that it gives out just from a simple, if I can move 30-40 seconds on the on the scanner itself. And obviously there's loads of different ways to do these scans, but this one is through, I think it's impedance or resistance of the electrodes. But it gives you, I'll just go through a couple of the stats. Total body water, the protein in your body, the minerals, the body fat mass, obviously the weight, the skeletal muscle mass, body fat mass, then even just like how lean your arms, legs, trunk is, and then it can give you lots of like different things compared, so you can compare them to other athletes or other people as well, or to the norms or the not norms. And so I think a couple of things that you might know or might be familiar with, the body fat mass or body fat percentage. So the body fat mass that I'm carrying, 12.5 kilos, which is 12.9% body fat, and today it was 96.8 kilos. And I think the biggest thing that is quite interesting, it also gives you your recommended caloric intake for the day without exercise. So basically your base metabolic rate, and so the scanner gave mine as 3,346 calories per day, and that's excluding exercise. So say I'm doing 3 sessions a day and burning on average, so say do an hour and erg twice and weights, you maybe burn at the minimum over those sessions 2,000 or so. You'll probably burn more, and then so add that on top of the recommended base metabolic rate numbers, you're at 5,500, and that's not including the raised metabolic rate by doing exercise in the first place, and also doing everything in between that exercise as well. So we're looking at sort of with a 3 session day, 6,000 sort of minimum, or even depending on what we're doing, and that's what we're kind of looking at today. What the aims are and what we're looking at doing. And now, since we've taken and got some data gathered about me, we can start to look at my body kind of from the outside. So a little bit of coaches looking at me doing different exercises, but today I think the emphasis is on the deadlift. So let's get straight to the deadlift. And we've had a little bit of a scan there with the body composition, really interesting stuff. But now we're going to look at my body movements during my deadlift. So let's get to it. So we decided to choose the deadlift just because that was one of the exercises that we think might be productive, and then we wanted to just make sure I wasn't horrendous at deadlifts. So we started off doing a couple, just sort of, okay, do them, let's see what your technique's like. And then we realized that I was just I wasn't warmed up enough, my legs weren't warmed up enough. So instead of just going and doing more deadlifts to warm up, we decided to do this heinous warm-up exercise, as you'll see now.
Wake hamstrings up. Lie on your front. Okay. What I want you to do is curl this heel to your bum. Yep. Curl this heel to your bum. I want you to squeeze it as hard as you possibly can. I want you to force it into a cramp. Yeah. Keep going. No. When it cramps, I want you to go for another 20 seconds. Squeeze it harder. Harder, come on.
So we're really waking up the hamstrings here really quickly. And basically, like if you could hear, to bring in your hamstring, bring in your heel to your butt, and basically make it cramp. And when it does cramp, keep on sort of like forcing it in and really firing the muscles. But it was absolutely heinous, but it certainly did wake up the old hamstrings, and Yam tried to tell me, tried to warn me, but I did it anyway. And then we go right back to the deadlift, and then work on sort of little pointers that he's given just to make sure I wasn't too far off of what he wanted me to do, but it was just a couple of pointers about sort of sitting back a bit in the heels, making sure I'm driving, making sure I'm set correctly. And then we finished off with the deadlifts after a pretty productive day, and tried not to blow my doors off while doing deadlifts, because that's the first time I've done deadlifts in quite a while. But it's been an absolute privilege going down just to have a fresh pair of eyes look at me and look at what I'm doing, which is always good, and always good for that variation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
And that's us finished a little bit of sort of body analysis for today, and it just kind of helps you figure out what you need to do or I need to do individually to work on the weaknesses, work on the strengths, things that could be worked on, like we did the body scan to see body fat percentage and whatnot, just to see what can be worked on. But I've went over it all just as we talked about that. And I spoke about earlier about doing like weights for rowing, what exercises, what rep ranges. Well, unfortunately, again, it is down to you as an individual, but generally higher reps, higher ranges, you're working on your endurance, and rowing is quite an endurance sport. But if you try to get stronger, then you're working on that lower reps, lower range, higher weight. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for endurance? Then higher reps, probably better for you. But are you looking for strength? Then lower reps are probably better for you. But again, I recommend speaking to a coach, speaking to a strength coach, a rowing coach, whoever it is you have to speak to that's right in your program. Like I was speaking to some guys here, it's good to discuss different things with different people and get an outsider's perspective and see what they think, rather than having sometimes just talking to somebody that you've never spoken to before about the same subject that they always speak about. You get a different opinion, and sometimes it can give you a different outlook that can motivate you a little bit more, because remember, variation is a key to motivation. But that will be it for today's episode of Yam Squad. Hopefully it was a little bit different, not a lot of rowing today, a lot of focus on weights, and that is part 2 of the weights today as we got analysed today. But as always, remember to subscribe if you haven't already, hit that like button, and have a good one.